Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Fearfully and Wonderfully Me podcast, a podcast designed to help you become the leader you are destined to be. I'm so excited about today's episode. I'd like to welcome Kari Stuart to the podcast. I first met Kari several years ago, but we recently reconnected, and she shared with me how she's overcome some major health challenges by eliminating a lot of processed foods and embracing a more whole food, plant-based diet, which is kind of something I've experienced as well. And so I know she's got a great story and a great passion about how she's been able to work through some health challenges and how, every one of us have that option to do the same if that's a good fit for us. So, with all that being said, Kari, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Rhea. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, it's exciting. You and I talked about this last time we went for a hike. It's been like 5 or 6 years maybe since we first met. But it seems like, we've kind of touched base here and there and over the years, but it's probably been a year or two since I talked to you up until we had a hike a little while back and you were sharing with me. So, and it was funny because you texted me and you were like, wow, how much we have both grown since that time when we first met 5 or 6 years ago. And it's awesome to just see how that really has played out for you.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you.
So, tell me a little bit because when we reconnected, and it's been a month or two, maybe, you had been going through a lot of health challenges, and I really had no clue. And so when we hiked a few weeks or month, or I don't know about if you feel the same way, but I feel like number one, 2020 just didn't happen. Like I catch myself all the time going last year, and then I'm like, no, that was 2019, because really last year just kind of, it's like somebody took the eraser and erased it. And then I did a podcast not too long ago, and I was like, the first half of 2021 zipped by pretty quick too. And so then I was like, is it been a couple of weeks or a couple of months since we went hiking? But tell me a little, or tell the audience a little bit about what you shared with me about how you'd been going through some health struggles, because I had up until that point had no idea.
Yeah. And I had really kept it to myself for a long time because I honestly didn't even realize up until I hit a critical state. I had just no energy. I had very poor digestion. But the lack of energy and some depression, um, fog brain, just some various symptoms. And all of this was before COVID. So
Oh.
the fact that I was barely getting by just to get up to go to work, I would get home and I would crash. I had no energy. And it was just it was rough. It was very rough. But of course I always smiled. Kept the smile going.
Yes.
So
And I think that's something as women, a lot of women can relate to, right? When we find ourselves going through a fog, whether it's emotional or physical or whatever, a lot of us tend to just say, I'm going to push that to the back and I'm going to keep going and I'm going to soldier through. And sometimes, I mean, to some degree that's being proactive, but to some degree that's not always the best thing, right? We tend to just to push and pretend and put on a face, and it's not authentic, I think, at the end of the day.
yes. And so I came to the point where I had to go to seek medical help.
Mm.
And I'm very glad that I did. I was able to confirm some things with some tests. I had severe allergy sensitivities to foods, some certain foods. But one thing that was kind of a shocker to me was my DNA diagnosis of mental health depression. And I have that
Mm.
for both sides of my family. I did not realize that at all. And so that helped me understand what I was going through. And soon after my diagnosis of depression, I learned that my DNA does not have to define my destiny. At
Mm.
only 3% is my blueprint. 97% is is up to me and my choices. It's my attitude, my nutrition, my environment, my lifestyle, and my community support. And
Wow. That is so, wait, just say that again, because that is so powerful.
Yes, 97% of of my DNA destiny is up to my depends upon my choices.
Wow.
My attitude, my nutrition, my lifestyle, my community support, and my environment.
That's pretty
Mhm.
powerful when you put it like that, because I think a lot of us think of lifestyle diseases in terms of things that, well, we're genetically predisposed, and maybe that's to some degree a little piece true, but what you just said is powerful. Like 99% of your health, the destiny is your choices. Wow.
Absolutely. 97%. And if I can do anything and everything within my power to prevent diabetes, which runs in my family, type
Hmm.
2, which so many people are affected by diabetes.
Mm.
And if I can prevent that with nutrition and with exercise and my lifestyle, I'm going to do it.
Absolutely. I like to talk about this subject because number one, I think a lot of us, health is a challenge because we're all busy, right? You're working a job and having a family, and and there again, we as women tend to push self-care toward the back, and sometimes we think of self-care as a bubble bath, and there's nothing wrong with bubble baths, but self-care too is realizing, hey, I've got to lead myself in terms of my health choices, because
Yeah.
those are impacting my ability to live, to step into my purpose.
Yeah.
And you're exactly right. It's like, how much ownership can I take of that when I understand how powerful that can be?
Hmm. Absolutely.
So, but you're pretty, it's interesting is you're pretty proactive. Like you're like, man, if there's something I can do, I'm gonna do it. Like just point me in the right direction. And not everybody, right? I mean, we all struggle, right? At some level, we all know things we could do a little better. I am pretty transparent that this year I've tried to give up cheese crackers, and I know they're not the greatest for me, and I realized at the beginning of the year, I'm like, I want to just, there's nothing wrong with me, but I have room for improvement, and cheese crackers is one way I can improve. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to give it. And then I was like, man, I didn't realize just how often I was running to the cupboard for a little snack of some, and it's just easy how we fall into those health habits, and then they just become autopilot. Is that kind of what you experienced as well?
Well, absolutely. This experience has brought me to that point of really um, being mindful of my relationship with food and
Mm,
understanding my habits, my lifelong habits of how I grew up, eating processed foods, eating fast foods, not paying much attention. I thought I was healthy, but then there were so many areas of my life where it's like, okay, this may not be the best for my body. And my body is telling me that it does not like this.
mm.
And so I need to change this. And it was a struggle. It's still a struggle sometimes. I try to cut out gluten and dairy, and they cause a lot of inflammation. But
Mhm.
sometimes, especially in the Western world, our diet, our habits are just not healthy for my body. And so, yeah, it's a struggle. It's a journey. And so there's a lot of grace, and it's one simple change. And that's the key. It's just changing by one habit, trying to create one new healthy habit at a time.
What's helped you kind of keep that in perspective?
Well, I have a wonderful community support with my new health journey of being like-minded with other people who have cut out some things in their diet, such as gluten and sugar and dairy.
Mhm.
And I've also conveniently added in um, over 30 whole foods of fruits and vegetables in a capsule. And so having that convenient way to get those nutrients to flood into my bloodstream is has been wonderful because I know I can't eat enough fruits and vegetables. That's for sure.
And we know they're good for us, right? But I mean, yeah, there again, it's sometimes it's challenging because we are busy, and yeah, just getting to the grocery store regularly can be a challenge sometimes. And yeah, having that solution makes it easier. Mac and I talk about juicing for the same reason, right? It allows you to just pack those nutrients into your body. And
Yeah.
like you said, I like what you said about give yourself some grace, because yeah, nobody's perfect. We're just looking to get a little bit closer toward our goals.
Right. Hmm. It's a journey.
So what's been the biggest, I got a note and I'm going to put you on the spot here, but what's been the hardest thing as you cut back some of gluten or dairy, or because mine's cheese, like, oh, I've cheese or cheese crackers, but obviously cheese is just like, it's a theme. So mine's cheese. What was it for you that you're like, yeah, I need to give this up?
Well, cheese is up there. That is for sure.
Okay.
Cheese and pizza used to be right there together.
Mm.
So, and even now, once in a while, I enjoy my gluten-free macaroni and cheese. So, yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. I always like to talk about that in terms of, it's okay to have a few indulgences, right? It's what we're doing every single day that really impacts us more. And that can apply to anything. So you're probably okay with your gluten free macaroni and cheese occasionally.
I am, and it's learning to listen to my body. When I eat something that my body does not digest well and it's not helping it, it's actually hurting it. And
Mm.
so I have to think, what I am putting into my body, am I going to give it nutrition, or am I going to give it some, or am I going to provide something that's actually going to kill it? I mean, is it going to help or is it going to hurt?
Yeah, that's pretty powerful, isn't it? Because how much of the time we turn to, again, those automatic decisions, or, automatic behaviors or choices, and that's so true for lifestyle and what we eat, because we grew up eating this, and so we just kind of have that imprinted. But when we are more intentional about this, like, does and the answer might not always be, this isn't great for me, so I'm not gonna eat it, right? But being intentional about it allows us to make that informed decision, like, is it worth it?
Yes, absolutely. And the education that I've been receiving while on this health journey has been amazing. And I just want to continue to pass on what I've learned and and encourage others wherever they are at. Hmm.
So when you talked about, just 1% better, and I've heard you say that before, and I like that, because I like the concept of consistency beats intensity. So talk about that 1% better.
It's one simple choice. It's one simple change. And that really is so important for me when it comes to goal setting, because too often it can seem so overwhelming, and I can feel defeated right away when I don't have to feel that way. And when
Mm.
I say, okay, one simple change, what is one change I can do this week for 1 week long to start making that new habit? And what I've noticed, and I'll have to put my sticky notes up in certain places, make sure I'm drinking enough water or exercise, stop and take a break, do my deep breathing. Um, but when I do that, I notice I want to keep going. I can make one
Mm.
more change. And so, yeah, just that one simple change.
That's a powerful concept. Maybe that's the title of your first book, because I just see that passion in you, and you're just like, man, it's and it, like you say, you want to be sharing this with others, because when we find out something that works, we're like, let's tell the other people around us, because we care about them, right? We want them to be successful, and I see that passion in you as well.
Well, thank you. Yes, this is my new hobby, my new passion.
So, how long has it been since you first got that diagnosis, and you're like, man, I need to get. Well, what really inspired it? I mean, I can't imagine, because I haven't personally experienced that. But walking away from the doctor's office, you're like, you've been given this diagnosis, but a lot of times what happens is they write a prescription rather than tell you to go eat more produce. So, walk us through what happened that said, I've got a choice here.
Well, I have always been the type to, I want to be holistic. I want to look at all of my choices and find out what all of my options are. I don't
Mm.
want to just have to take a pill and then possibly have to take another pill because of side effects from that first pill. So I just, I started looking into some other alternatives and let my doctor know what I was thinking, and she encouraged it as well. And so I'm very fortunate in that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Number one, because sometimes medical doctors aren't always just, really up on the concept of whole food nutrition, I think. And yeah, so it's awesome that you had just that level of support and almost a partner, it sounds like, and saying, let's figure out a better solution for you.
Mhm.
So that's awesome. So would you run out and get some books and start reading up on that, or what happened next?
Well, actually, I had met some other ladies who have this lifestyle, and so I've just been enjoying their company and being mentored at the same time, and being introduced um, to the Whole Foods capsules and the idea of changing my lifestyle, my eating habits.
Yeah, so when you talk about the people around us influencing us, how powerful it is that they're like, hey, let's all grow together on this health journey. It sounds like you've got an amazing
Yeah,
community in that.
absolutely. Yes, I'm very fortunate.
So, and I'm just curious, is your hubby like on board with all of this as well, or should I not go there? Because I know Mac has embraced more healthy eating, and he talks about this on his podcast. So, but he's also like, I think he said the other day, he said, I value being healthy. He said this from the stage, no less. We were speaking, and he said, I value being healthy, but not necessarily eating healthy.
I think that's what my husband would say as well. Um, so it's been neat to see his heart and mind open up to the idea of really being more intentional about how he is living and his simple daily choices. And he's actually surprised me. He's making some choices himself, and I'm very grateful for that. Absolutely. And hopefully, as iron sharpens iron, hopefully we'll
Mm.
we'll sharpen one another.
That is awesome. So how long has it been since you got this diagnosis and you started doing research and making changes? How long has it been?
Just over a year. It was a year in May. Hmm.
Okay, awesome. And you're seeing like tell me about how you're feeling health wise now. Like what are some of the changes that you're like, man, I can really see this, or whatever that is.
I can see a huge difference in so many areas. My my thinking, the brain fog is lifted, my energy level, my achiness all over my body and in my joints. I also had psoriasis, which I have no longer.
Mm,
And so, and the neat thing is, I actually now crave healthy food. That's not
yeah.
crave healthy food. And the thought of eating certain fast food restaurants does not appeal to me anymore. And
Mm,
so that right there helps me so much because I don't have the self-discipline like I'd want to have.
mhm.
And I see how my taste buds have changed by eating differently. And now I don't crave the foods that don't serve me well.
Mm. Wow, that's pretty powerful because it's like you just said, you're like, I don't necessarily have all the self-discipline, but I don't need it. When I started making the change, it just snowballed, sounds like.
Yes, it evolved. Yes. Hmm.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I mean, I've heard other people talk about, our taste can change when we get away from the things that are in our food that aren't always good for us, salt, sugar, fat, of course, but they taste good. But when we do step away from them and our body just really tells us what it needs, we just have to start listening. a little
Yeah.
better.
Yes. And another thing I've noticed is I wake up in the morning awake and ready. Before I would not, I would have to hit that snooze button. And even now, I will wake up before my alarm goes off and I'll be wide awake.
Wow.
And so that's another change I've noticed. Hmm.
So wide awake in the mornings, like just lots of energy and ready to take on the day.
Ready to go. Yep.
Were you a morning person before this?
Oh no.
Oh. Uh, that's interesting. But it's neat to see what you talked about is how your choices have helped you influence now your hubby and some of your other connections, I'm sure. And
Mhm.
I love to talk about how the foundation of leadership and influence is we first have to lead ourselves. And I
Yeah.
think that's just as important in that physical dimension or those health and lifestyle choices as it is in personal growth or spiritual and relationships. And that foundation of influence really comes back to I've got to lead me first.
Mhm.
And it's hard to do sometimes. Yeah. But we all, there's always we're like you said, we're all on that journey. And I love Michael Josephson quote. I say it over and over and over again. We don't have to be sick to get better. But in your case, you were having a lot of health issues and you've been able to get better. And you're still on a journey, right? Recognizing it doesn't stop here. It's
Right.
just a journey that we travel.
Hmm. Yeah.
That is awesome. Thank you for sharing, just a little bit about your story and your heart for helping other people. And I know you talked about the capsules and then you talked about it's kind of a hobby that you've gotten into, right? That's like a solution that other people can take advantage of as well.
Absolutely. Yes.
Oh,
And
okay.
mhm.
Where can people find more information or just reach out to you if they want to find more information about that?
Yes, please reach out to me. My email address of Kari Robinson. Actually, it is KJ58Robinson@gmail.com. And then you can also look at juiceplus.com.
Okay. I'll put the link in the show notes as well so someone can reach out to that if they're interested in learning more. So, but essentially you've moved to more whole food plant-based and you supplement with the capsules as well. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So how has it been? Because I know when I first moved away from more processed foods and more whole foods, like I had to learn to cook differently. Has that been a challenge for you?
Yes, actually. And that's part of the convenience that I love is that if I don't get around to cooking as much as I would like, I know that I'm still flooding my body with plant-based nutrition through the capsules and the shakes that I drink every day.
Mm.
So
What's
yeah,
your
but
what's your new favorite thing to cook and enjoy?
oh goodness. Um, well, that's that's a question. That's a stop. That's a,
I was
um,
just looking for new ideas. I'm always looking for good new ideas.
well, I love to make. I have a variety of recipes that I make various little protein balls, and I love to make them. And the latest I've been on is a chocolate peppermint protein ball, and then I
Oh,
freeze them in the freezer, and so I can take them as I go, and it's a quick snack if I need that. Hmm.
chocolate peppermint. That almost sounds better like than you remember those old peppermint patties? I forget what they were called. I used to love those.
Yeah.
I haven't had one of those in a long, 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 long time, but that sounds like it could be a nice treat and instead of.
Yes, I love it because I know I'm eating something healthy, and it doesn't taste healthy.
That's always a win-win, right? It's like, okay, it's almost like it shouldn't be as healthy and good for me as it is. That's awesome. Carrie, thank you so much for sharing about your journey. And I'm so glad you've been able to come through because, again, it had been so long since we had talked and I had no idea that, you were going through some of these challenges. And I'm so glad to see that you've come through them and even more excited to see you kind of reach back and helping other people, because you do have just such a glow about you when you talk about this. Like, you get excited and fired up about it, and to see that passion just kind of blossom is amazing. I think you can take this and help so many people. So I'm just excited for that, and thanks for sharing your story.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's been my honor to spend this time with you, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I know there are people who enjoy hearing about your journey, and we all, like we said, we all have room to get better. Nothing wrong with us, but we all have room to get better. And it's just that inspiring, encouraging reminder that says, okay, one small change, right? One small change compounds
Mm,
over time, over and over again. And
yeah,
we don't have to get it all right. Just get one thing right, one more thing right.
that's right.
Sounds so
Once a
easy when we
simple change.
yes, exactly. All right. Thank you, Kari. I'm going to put the link where anyone listening can reach out to Kari if they have questions about her, how she's found so many just solutions to her health and overcome all of these challenges. And yeah, I'll put those links in the show notes so everyone can reach out to you. Kari, thanks so much.
All right. Thank you, Rhea.
Take care.
Start increasing your influence and maximizing your potential with Rhea's audiobooks. Available at audible.com, amazon.com, and iBooks. Please visit rheastory.com to learn about Rhea's books, resources, speaking, and training programs. Thanks for listening.